Hi everyone, how you guys doing? Welcome back to another episode of Podio Commentary. My name is Matt Jarbo, and Jurassic World Rebirth has come out, and I've seen it, which is weird considering I still haven't seen Dominion, and I felt a little odd going into this movie without having seen Dominion. But since I also kind of understand where things are with that movie, something about locusts, I guess, the premise for Rebirth wasn't lost on me. Like, I got what they were going for, and I'm like, cool. I went in maybe a little bit blinder than other people, and that's okay. This movie had some very odd marketing in regards to it was everywhere but nowhere at the same time. Like, I spoke with an employee of the theater last night who was telling me that he was surprised the movie was even coming out today, as he was there working the concession stand at the midnight show. That's a little weird, right? That's a little odd. But okay, right? Here we are. Movie's out. Gareth Edwards directed, David Koepp written, Jurassic World Rebirth. Is it any good? Yeah. Yeah, it is actually. There's a lot about this movie to like. There is a lot about this movie to really kind of sink your teeth into, no pun intended. But there's also a bit about this movie that is confusing and very oddly done, and you're not too sure what they're going for. And I feel that has a lot to do with a very similar situation that happened with Gareth Edwards and Lucasfilm over on Rogue One. So the thing you have to remember is Gareth Edwards at his core is a guy who tells stories about characters, right? Characters that are just going through things in very fantastical situations. Right. Go back to his first film, Monsters, the people trying to go through the kind of like the quarantine zone. And it's, it's a 2-person character story, that was really good. And then you get Godzilla 2014, where, that movie, I think, took a couple viewings to really kind of like get what he was going for. I love that it was shot from the human perspective. And he brought that over to Rogue One when we had the first teaser trailer that showed them running on the beach of Scarif, and there was an AT-AT that was there, and like, holy crap, just looking at it from that scale and that perspective was just like, my God. And that is something that it was taken away with the Tony Gilroy reshoots, and I'm not mad about that because it ended up being great. But then you look at the creator, and that's a very human-led drama, and I feel like he brought as much of that as he could to this. But he was also a run and gun director for hire. That's what he was. And his job was to go in and make basically a creature feature. And that's exactly what he did. The downside is that it takes a little bit of time to get to the creature feature part of it. And so we're going to go into some light spoilers. I'm going to try not to spoil everything. Obviously, with Podio Commentary, I do go into a lot of plot details. So if you haven't seen the movie and you are like, I don't know how to feel about this, pause now, go watch it. I do recommend it. Come back and then we'll talk more about it. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to be as light as I possibly can. But honestly, I'll probably fail that one. So let's just, whatever. The movie takes place, years after the events of Dominion. The dinosaurs are dying, right? We know this from the trailers. The world is not only inhospitable climate-wise, humans have just straight up stopped caring. And I thought that was a really interesting thing, right? Dinosaurs return. The park opens. It's really popular to go and see everything with the dinosaurs. Then the park, breaches, and then the dinosaurs escape. And then years later, people are like, I'm just kind of over it. I'm just kind of done with it. I don't know, man. Like dinos, whatever. Like they have this, I want to say it's not a brachiosaurus. I forget exactly what kind of dinosaur it was, but it escaped its habitat enclosure in New York. And by the way, all these dinosaurs just keep seeming to escape. Right. They just really just keep seeming to escape, which I thought was interesting. And then you see it and like there was graffiti on its ass. It was tagged. Some douchebag went over to a dinosaur and tagged its ass. And it's just like, okay, wow. Right. The apathy. The reason why they did that was to showcase the apathy towards these creatures and how there's a dino walking through like lower Manhattan that's causing traffic. And yet it's like, meh, whatever, like it's no big deal. It's like another Tuesday. Right. And like, that just goes to show you that humans largely don't give a shit. And I think that's actually even something that's kind of brought up later on in the movie as well, about how, we are like the dominant species, but our intelligence is going to end up wiping us out a lot faster than the dinosaurs that lived for 167 million years, So there's always been commentary about humanity and just how borked we are, with how we, ruin the climate, ruin the environment, are a parasite and everything else. And this movie just kind of shows that, like, yeah, it's a bit like that. But okay, so in the very beginning of the movie, we know about, you see it in the trailer with the guy in the enclosure, and then there's like the D-Rex behind him and everything else. That's a good scene, by the way. I've seen some criticisms about the opening of the movie because obviously the Mars company, the company that owns like Snickers and M&Ms and candies, and whoever, like the Lay's company, they paid some serious money for product placement in this movie, especially the Mars company. It prominently featured that is, unless someone in the audience or someone on the production team really hates Snickers. Because I saw a tweet before I saw the movie saying everything in this movie is a result of a candy bar wrapper. And that's true, right? It's true. But it shows laziness, and it shows, like, how things can happen without you realizing it. Okay. So go back to the original movie with Nedry shutting off the security system and able to go and steal the embryos and then get to the docks and get the hell out of there. And then obviously he never made it. Okay. But still, he sabotaged everything, and that's what caused the park to shut down and all the dinosaurs to get out of there. In this one, a lazy scientist is eating a Snickers bar, and he drops the Snickers wrapper. And because of how these particular containment units have their clean room areas and whatnot, the vacuum suction sucks in a candy bar wrapper into a vent, and it ends up disabling the entire security system, causing it to reboot. And then in the process of that, it just goes crazy, and the dinosaurs get free. Yeah, I mean, things like that can happen. You know what I mean? It's like, what was the cause of the Chicago fire? Didn't like a cow knock over a lantern in a barn or something? Sometimes these things happen. And of course, in my mind, as I'm watching this, I just kind of went to myself, oh, yeah, like life sometimes finds a way, like life finds a way, and that's like kind of true. Ian Malcolm, the chaos-tician, right? Somewhere in the back having a laugh. So then we meet Scarlett Johansson's character, and she's Zora. She's like a spec ops retrieval expert, I guess. And her she's not bad in the movie by any means, but she's playing someone who is like emotionally vulnerable and should not be where she is, and she acknowledges that later on. But it's really interesting in like the first couple scenes in the movie with her, because you're like, it feels so out of place, right? Like she doesn't have like, that kind of swagger of being like spec ops and whatnot, She's like, I'm asset retrieval, basically. Like I can get you in and get you out, sort of thing. And then they go and they meet Dr. Loomis, the doctor who's got to go with him to extract the DNA from three live samples, in order to be able to more or less use the DNA to help solve, heart disease, right? Like save millions of people's lives a year. And it's a noble cause for him. And obviously Rupert Friend is playing, kind of like the John Hammond type guy. Not John Hammond. More like Gennaro. Nah, he's not even the lawyer. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to describe his character. He's the business side of it. He's got the company, the Paul Reiser and fucking Aliens. How about that, right? He's like Paul Reiser and Aliens, essentially. Like, he knows what they're going into. He knows what it's all about. And he's only there to accomplish what he's there to accomplish. But there's this weird scene. There's this really weird scene. Like in the opening of it, when they're trying to like convince the doctor to go, and he like starts chewing on Altoids, and the scene goes on for like a minute of him like just chewing Altoids, and like, but that's like that's how he soothes himself, I guess. Like that's his coping mechanism, and it was so weird, right? It was so weird. like that, you could easily cut that scene, right? This guy's like, I don't know about it. And then like, yeah, come on, you should go. It's gonna be a lot of money. You're gonna be out of a job. All right. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Like, I feel like that they could have just cut around that. Like, I don't even know why that's in the movie. It was so distracting, and then of course they go and they meet up with Duncan Kincaid, played by Mahershala Ali. He's joined by Ed Skrein, which I didn't even know he was in the movie. So that was kind of cool to see. And then they run a hustle on the money man. It's kind of like, I mean, they're kind of like the mercenaries. Obviously they're trying to play that up, but like, they don't really vibe like mercenaries. It's such a weird thing. Like, they don't have the time to build up that kind of, je ne sais quoi, right? It's like that type of mentality. We don't see it. So it's just kind of like there. But again, once you get past that and they get on the boat and then it even cuts over to the other family. All right, like now we're cooking in my mind, okay? Because you got the other family, right? Dad, 2 daughters, Isabella and Teresa, and then you've got Xavier, the boyfriend who's lazy, who's the kind of guy you think is going to end up like dying first, right? But he actually ends up becoming like a really good character by the end of the movie, which I was really surprised at that. Like, you're like, oh yeah, that guy's a dick. He's totally going to die, and then you're like, he's actually kind of based. He's pretty based. He's not so bad, right? Like, he's definitely like not the guy you think that he is. And even like him and the dad have like issues, and they kind of like work through those issues by the end. Again, like, this movie is really kind of about like your family, whether it's your found family or it's your, biological family and whatnot. Like, and all those movies kind of have a very similar vibe to them. And this one kind of played it up. The thing with Xavier though, there's this whole scene like later on with him I thought was really funny, where he goes to take a piss. And like, you're watching it, and right, there's several callbacks to like the original Jurassic Park, and then he's taking a leak, and so he's out there, he's got his dick in his hand, he's just whizzing, and then you see 2 raptors come up on either side of him, right? And you're like, oh, there's one, there's the other. Oh yeah, they hunt in pairs, right? And I'm just thinking back to the whole scene from the opening of fucking Jurassic Park, right? And then here comes a gigantic flying dinosaur, not a pterodactyl, I don't even know what it's called, takes out one of the raptors, and like he's just reacting to it. Right? Like, not moving. He's holding his breath. He's hearing all this destruction and violence and gnashing behind him. And all he can do is just like pray to God that like no one sees him. And then like, it's just really kind of intense because you kind of expect him to die. And it's so funny because when the bird takes away the raptor's corpse and it scared away the other raptor, he kind of lets out this sigh of relief and then just starts pissing again. And I thought that was like really funny because I'm like, yeah, I get it. You're holding it all in, right? And you're like, oh, I got to let it out. And it was just a nice little cathartic moment for the audience, I think. And again, we don't see raptors any other time in the movie. Like, this is like one of the only Jurassic Park movies that the raptors are not like really kind of a mainstay, And that's fine. We don't see them. We don't really need to see them. We only get the one scene with the T-Rex. And that, of course, is the raft scene that's all over the marketing. And if you don't know what that is, that goes back to the original novel that, had Grant and the kids trying to escape the T-Rex on a raft while going down a river. It was included in the 1993 Genesis video game, but not the SNES video game version of the movie. And then they've been trying to get it in, and they got it in. And as soon as it got to the raft scene, man, I was like so happy we got there. It was a really well put together scene. Unfortunately, some of the marketing I've seen today has kind of ruined the surprise in that scene, which I'm not a fan of. I'm just not a fan. I thought it was kind of dumb to ruin that in the marketing. But then again, dinosaurs are going to be the main draw. Obviously, people want to see the T-Rex. Obviously, they want to see the different dinos and everything else. I think like one of the things of this movie is violent, right? It's like violent. Like, my 7-year-old was begging to come with me to watch the movie at midnight, and I was like, no, you didn't even like watching the first Jurassic Park, which she enjoyed up until the raptor scene at the end. And I'm like, yeah, that's intense. And this whole movie is like that. Once they get to the island, like when they're out there and they're fighting like I think it's like the Mosasaur, whatever it is, or the Mosasaurus. And it's out there and it's doing its thing, and like, it's pretty intense. And this is where Gareth Edwards shined as a director. He went in there to create a creature feature, and he created a creature feature. There is a sense of dread. There's a sense that you can be taken out at any time. And it's possible that you could be taken out at any time. But also a lot of the deaths happen in ways that are violent, but are also off screen. And they do that to maintain the PG-13 rating. Because if it would have shown you the actual death, oh my God, right? It would have been like gnarly. For me, oh my God, the death of Rupert Friend's character. I'm not going to say what it was. It was wild. I was like, oh wow, like it just kind of went there, like taking a bite of a candy bar is the best way to describe it. I think is very apropos to make that comparison. But yeah, it was nuts, dude. Like, they go again. It's a standard movie. They have 3 objectives. They get the 3 objectives. Now let's get off the island while trying to, outrun the D-Rex in this particular case and everything else. It's not the Indominus Rex like in Jurassic World. This is the D-Rex. And what's interesting about that, though, is they make a comment, and this is a comment that was made back in Jurassic World 10 years ago when it came out, was the reason why the Indominus Rex was made was because these theme parks need new attractions. And that also ties into the whole idea of the apathy of dinosaurs that I was mentioning, is that they just don't care anymore, right? People don't care anymore because you need something to maintain that spectacle. And that is what InGen was doing at this location. They were mutating dinosaurs in order to then be able to have those attractions, leading very much into the Indominus Rex, even though they never once mentioned the Indominus Rex, right? And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, right? Like, I mean, I love Jurassic World movies. Again, I haven't seen Dominion. I liked Fallen Kingdom quite a bit as well. And so it's just that whole idea that, like, it's like theme parks, capitalism, corporations are going to corporate, right? Like, that's what they're going to do. And that's a lot of what this movie is. But it's full of some moments that I think are kind of dumb in regards to character moments. There's this little not a T-Rex. I don't even know what it's called. Not T-Rex, a Triceratops, that they named Dolores for some reason. At one point when they encounter the T-Rex, Dolores runs away. And then when they get past everything, Dolores apparently follows the scent of the candy and that Isabella's been giving her. And then later on, they end up in this grocery store at the village, at the compound. And then magically Dolores is there. Right. And like, oh, hey, how did you get here? And it's like, okay, like they needed to find a way to bring Dolores back. I get that. But I just felt they could have done that in a way where they could have like had a cutaway of showing like Dolores following them or something, at least to establish that that's what the dinosaur had done. I mean, I guess they already kind of did it earlier when we saw it one time and then Dolores ran away and then Dolores came back. So they established a pattern of Dolores like following the scent. All right. So they did that. I understand that. Okay. But I just feel like that cut to Dolores being there was so like, what? That was really one of the only things in the movie that I felt was kind of like not really well handled. But again, a lot of people are going to probably get really upset at the first 30 minutes of this movie because it takes a little bit of time to get going, right? Where are the dinosaurs? Where are the dinosaurs? Where are the dinosaurs? I mean, go back to 93's movie, the original film, and like, 20, 30 minutes, not even 20 minutes into the movie, I think they're already looking at the Brontosaurus, right? And doing the, the big reveal and then the big right, doing that. So like they've done a bunch of stuff with this movie to kind of like get us to that point, but they need to get us there faster. And I think they could probably chop out a solid 10 minutes of some of that stuff in order to really streamline the movie and make it a bit more accessible on that front. But at the same time, once you get to, I don't even feel like the pacing was that bad, to be honest with you, right? Like I never felt like the movie is dragging on. Once it got going, it was pretty much hold on to your butts sort of situation. And there's definitely callbacks to the original. I thought it was pretty funny that, like the Rupert Friend is trying to, escape with the embryo or with the blood, the DNA. He's in a Jeep driving in the dark and, trying to get to the docks. And it's very much a callback to Nedry with a with a pretty iconic ending as well, I'll fully admit. And again, like I thought everyone else worked pretty well. Scarlett Johansson was able to show emotional range as the movie progressed, and it worked as it went on. And you see her change, and that's really good. But it's just how she's presented in the initial part of this film isn't necessarily what I would call the greatest. And so that part's a little bit wonky, but there's a lot of other stuff that kind of went on here. I think like in regards to, like, again, what Gareth Edwards was hired to do versus what the editors and executives at Universal put on the screen. There's some stuff I definitely would have changed, but like I said, once it gets going, I'm sold on it. I will happily add this movie to my collection alongside the other ones, but I don't know if it needs to go anywhere else from here. I don't know where you're going to be able to take this franchise. That is just my honest take on it, right? It's like, okay, if you're going to use the dinosaur DNA in order to help try to, save human lives, and the dinosaurs are relegated back to the islands by the equator, what are you going to do? You've already done the military industrial complex. You've already done the mutations. You've already released them into the wild and it's inhospitable. Like, where are you going to take the franchise? That becomes the ultimate question. But I don't know. Yeah, that's just kind of where we are. So anyway, I am curious to know your thoughts about this. Let me know down in the comments section. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Audio Commentary. Have yourself a great day. Go see more movies. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one and peace out.